So vandag se gas het jy dalk al gesien iewers op die internet, verseker het jy hom al gesien op TikTok, en as jy enigstens die politiek so klein bietjie volg, dan sê jy weet, hierdie ou het 'n hashtag begin, genaamd hashtag fuck the ANC, want hy's gatvol, soos meeste Suid-Afrikaners. Renaldo Gouws, what's up dude?
How's it? Hoe gaan dit daar so? Dit is so weird om te hoor dat ek is soos meer populêr nou op TikTok is op YouTube. Jy weet, ek is al 13 jaar op YouTube en TikTok seker nou vir so jaar en 'n half, 2 jaar. So ja, nee, dis lekker man. En is amazing man, is die jong en die ou mense wat op TikTok is op die oomblik, jy weet. YouTube is nou soos hierdie weird ding wat mense nou en dan kyk.
Ja. Maar die snaaks hoe die dinge verander het, want TikTok het geword soos wat Instagram was in sy infancy, jy weet die vroeë dae. It's just blowing up, en soos vandag het jy 5 followers, môre sit jy op 10,000 followers. So ek dink die kids tap in daai instant fame ding, jy weet, waar hulle loop in die spar rond en iemand sê vir hulle, hey, is jy nie daai girl van TikTok nie, of is jy nie daai ou van TikTok nie?
Ja, dit is. Ek meen dit is goed en is in die mate dat dit mense nader aan content creators bring. Maar jy weet, die ding is ook, en ons moet eerlik wees, ek meen mense sit hulle self op social media want hulle kryf daai aandag. Ek meen dis waarom ek daarop is. Ek weet nie of ander mense vir hulle self lieg nie.
Ja.
Maar is definitief een van die groot redes. En natuurlik die ander ding is ongelukkig is daar baie mense wat dit as 'n ego, hulle sien dit as 'n manier om ego boost, maar ook om geld te maak. Ek meen, toeie donder, jy kry common mense op TikTok wat letterlik net daar sit en smeek vir geld, dag en nag. Hulle is online car guards, pretty much. Dis wat hulle is.
I love that, online car guards. Jy kon nie die spyker meer op die kop slaan, because the thing that I've seen is, I've watched lives from overseas, and the ranking, I don't even know what the shit this ranking thing is and why people do it, but like you said, it's a money-making scheme. And we have these common aunties who are, going on there. They're starting family fights. They're airing all of their dirty laundry, and they're making us as a South African, nation just seem super common. That's not necessarily the picture I want to portray to the world, on a public platform.
Yeah, and the problem that we're sitting with is there's not really any moderators that understand Afrikaans in South Africa. Well, I mean, I'm assuming there's no South African moderators for TikTok, because if they did, they would. I mean, I put up a video of a guy having a fist fight with somebody else in a shopping center, and then I get a strike on my video. I can't see how you can call somebody constantly the P word and not get banned. So clearly there's a gap in this Afrikaans TikTok market. And let's be real, like the not that English people can't be common, but the real common mense is on Afrikaans TikTok. It's like Boksburg, Benoni, and Brakpan found each other, and they had like this super child that is Afrikaans TikTok. And I love it. Listen, don't get me wrong. There was this one lady that I made a joke about her hair where it looks like the 80s, a Eystervark, and I don't know what else. A grasnyer had a battle, and all of them fucking lost. It's terrible.
But it's just become a place where I don't even know if people are working anymore or if people have real jobs. But you could literally go on any time of the day, and somebody will be, like you said, standing there, bakantjie, waiting for somebody to send them a universe or shit knows what else. And this carries on into the evening. If you go onto TikTok because you can't sleep and you have insomnia at 4 a.m, you check Oaks. One Oaks dosing the other Oaks like, let's go, guys. 2 more of this and that.
The weirdest stuff. It's not only South African. It's like these, what do they call it? These AI bots or these bots where these guys
NPCs.
Non-playing characters. You're
yes.
Right. But the thing that I've seen is Afrikaans and South African TikTok. I mean, the one morning I had to wake up at 5 a.m. to catch a flight, and I just scrolled into TikTok and there were Afrikaans people live trying to rank at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, so before you even get up for your cup of coffee, people are already begging for money. And before I knew what this whole ranking thing and gifts was, because on YouTube you get emojis, people can send you hearts, people can send you like
You can
100% little tags.
you can have
So when they,
actual physical cash donations on YouTube.
yeah, for sure. But on TikTok, it's the money is in
Oh
the
yes,
emojis.
yeah.
So when I went live on TikTok the first time, I saw all of these emojis pop up, and I was just, I mean, I didn't even like, and somebody gave something, I think that was like 500 Rand. And I just like went, oh, that's cute, sunglasses or whatever popped on my face. I
Yeah.
didn't even know. And then I started mocking it like for the first, I don't know, month when I went live on TikTok. And this is the irony though. One time I went live, when I now fully understood what ranking was, I've never tried to rank, but I mocked Afrikaans people, especially the common people that try to rank. And I specifically made a joke about Oom Faan that lost his leg in the Anglo-Boereoorlog and that we were raising funds for Oom Faan.
Yeah.
Nobody is still alive from the Anglo-Boereoorlog. And obviously people bought into that. And in one like TikTok live stream, I made like 3,500 Rand by telling them not to donate and joking about something. So ranking in South Africa, I mean, you can literally have minimum wage plus extra if you just beg people constantly and enough on TikTok. It's insane. It's absurd. It's absurd.
I just don't understand the where people get money to sponsor these people or give gifts, because we know the South African economy is in shambles at the moment. We barely get through with our salary as is. And now there's somebody else sitting there watching this for 2 to 4 hours, depending on how much money these people want to make or how high they want to rank, because apparently you only rank based on a monetary system. So the more gifts you get, the higher you rank. But these are normal, everyday, hardworking South Africans pissing their money away at people who are stirring cuck all the time.
It's absurd. Like, I don't know. I don't know where they get the money from. I don't know if it's credit card debt. I don't know if it's like Parlemoen money. I don't know if it's, like whatever money it is, like illegal cigarettes. I don't know. But there's a lot of it floating around on TikTok. And this is the thing. Some people like to, like, let's use Imelda Claassen, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't, like, everybody knows that she's the common queen on TikTok, right? And if she wants to argue or fight me on it, like, just look at the stats. Like, Imelda Claassen says what a lot of people want to hear that is either in that class or they find her entertaining and they want to throw money at her, right? The thing, though, is that just as you get a lot of people that are willing to put themselves on like a platform like that, like showing their faces, there's also a lot of people that want to flex how much money they have.
Yeah.
So they might not have the guts to put their faces on TikTok, but they want to show, hey, I've got like 5,000 Rand for a universe, no problem. So I suppose the one feeds the other, and eventually you've got like this symbiotic relationship. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, but I love TikTok. I love TikTok because it's instant. Whereas with YouTube, I used to spend 10, 15 minutes recording a video and then like an hour editing it and then uploading and hope that the algorithm picks it up and shares it. On TikTok, I literally make the lowest cuck quality video with like, it looks like I'm blessing most of it because of the green screen effect. It literally takes me 60 seconds. I add a couple of hashtags and boom, you can get 100,000 views, no problem. It's crazy. And I love it. I love it.
Now, I also love TikTok for how immediate it is. And, it has amazing potential if you use it correctly. But have you ever had like mad fucking TikTok beef with anyone? You spoke about Imelda, and I know you've spoken about other creators on there who, well, they call themselves creators. But have you had TikTok beef?
No, not really. I mean, because what I do, I've learned this from YouTube. What I do is I'll read the first like comments for the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then I just won't read the comments because most of the time you'll find smart ass people trying to like create cuck, or people try and build a profile from their hatred for you. And I mean, that's what I did on YouTube. I gave people a platform that really despised me, and then they found each other and they pretty much built their entire platform based on their hatred for me. So I decided not to give that any more oxygen. I do know that, and what's his name? I'll mention this because like that has been resolved. But what is the guy with the kopdoek on his head? What's that guy's name?
I don't get on TikTok enough to know all of these characters.
Ben Larkin, I think.
Oh,
because
yes.
he puts you. So anyway, that has been resolved. But when I just started on TikTok, like my subscribers went, and I suppose it's also people from YouTube that saw that I'm on TikTok and then they followed me. And then Ben Larkin started some cuck with me, and I quickly just said, I'm not interested in drama. Because when I joined TikTok, there was so much Afrikaans drama that I just pointed out that there is a lot of drama, and then I kind of stayed clear of it, and I just talk about politics because that's what my channel, that's what I'm knowledgeable about is politics in South Africa.
Listen, now talking about the politics, obviously, that's your 9 to 5. That's kind of where you find yourself. You're a ward councillor for the DA. You're an industrial psychologist. You've been doing this for a while. Before we get to the nitty-gritty of the politics, I know you're also quite young, you're hip, you don't have a politician's fucking hairstyle, you don't have a politician's outlook on on politics, if I can say it that way. But now, I think that's exactly what South Africans need. We need some fresh young blood to move this country forward. I mean, looking at our own town, Tshwane, where you have a new mayor like Silje Brink, who's fucking, he's pissing on batteries left, right, and center, but he's sticking to his guns, which I love. Don't you think that's where we need to move with politics?
I do think that that's what you need. What you need is you need people that don't really need to be politicians, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You shouldn't rely on people that need it as a salary in order to survive, if that makes sense. Look, I mean, I need the salary, but I mean, I could be earning double, if not triple, in the private sector. So I do it because I'm passionate about it and because I want to leave a legacy. That's why I do what I do. And I want to leave the place better than what I found it in. And I mean, fuck, it doesn't take a lot to do that anymore because the place is like falling apart. But yeah, I think, I do it a little bit differently than I think most politicians. And I think it's obviously, I think it has harmed my prospects in politics because I know that a lot of people like what I say and agree with what I say, but you also make a lot of enemies on the other side. So and people will look for anything to use against you, So if I don't know, if I made an inappropriate joke 10 years ago that at the time there was nothing wrong with, people will now look at it and go, oh, look at what Ronaldo said, 10 years ago. Even today, I saw somebody like and comment on something that I posted in 2018. Now, please tell me that's not somebody that's looking for cuck. I mean, why are you so far back on my Twitter?
Who has enough time to scroll that far back? And have shitload the whole time. No, but that's exactly what you said, people go and look for shit, especially when you're out there like you are, putting yourself out on YouTube, on TikTok, on public platforms where it's open for conversation. Fuck, if you don't like my statement, pull in, I think that's what I enjoy about your content is you always try and give people the benefit of the doubt while stating the facts. So interpret it the way you want to, that's fine. But if there's a statement that somebody puts down which is misinformed and poorly constructed, I like that about you, where you'll quickly jump on that and be like, dude, here's the facts. I know this, I can say this because I've been there, I've done this.
And you 100% right. I mean, whenever I make a video, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok, I investigate it. I check whether I'm correct in my analysis. I'm very proud that I have not uploaded in my 14 years on social media. I haven't uploaded a video once that I had to apologize for or retract because I do research. A lot of people, for instance, this Hank's old Irish pub thing. There's so many woke people that jumped on that bandwagon. And now all of them need 7 sources before they confirm that they were wrong, which, it speaks to their character. But I mean, I focus on politics because, the problem that we have in this country is we've got people that aren't qualified or won't be trusted to run a tuck shop, but they are members of parliament, they are councillors, they're members of provincial legislature, and they earn anything between 50,000 to 150,000 rand a month. Now, please tell me, in what world is it acceptable that somebody that would not be trusted to work at a King Pie as a cashier or at a tuck shop as a cashier, how the hell can somebody like that be in charge of a municipality or a ward, or an area that you have to take those people's money and work with it? It's absurd, and that is what I try and tackle. And that is why I believe that people that don't really need to be politicians are the ones that actually need to be politicians, because that they've got the people's best interest at heart.
Because we're not talking about a 50,000 Rand business turnover. We're talking about multi-million Rand municipalities and shit. And this is the problem with the cadre deployment system, is if you're wearing the right T-shirt and you're affiliated to the right party, you're going to get a job, and you're going to have to sit there, and people are going to expect certain things of you, and you're not going to know what to tell them.
So 3 things that destroyed this country. Firstly, the ANC. Secondly, the cadre deployment system. And thirdly, broad-based black economic empowerment. Let me tell you why. The ANC, firstly, is they've become the villains of their own creation. So they created the system that we all live in now. So, and now that the cadres are fighting amongst each other, now they're starting slowly to expose the corrupt system that they've built themselves. And then broad-based black economic empowerment, because it's literally 29 years since the end of apartheid. Why, as the ANC, could you not have at least cut the legacy of apartheid by 3/4 to show that we are a better society now than what we were? With trillions of taxpayers' money over the last 29 years, and yet, even now, you get ministers that get paid the big bucks, more than 1.5 million, 2 million Rand a year. They are the ones that are now still blaming apartheid. It just blows my mind how we just are acceptant of this, and how we accept it. And secondly, how people that support the ANC can't see past this bullshit. I mean, I'm assuming they probably do see behind it, but they just don't want to acknowledge it because they still either benefit from it, or they're too scared of the bullshit that the ANC is selling them, in that your grants are going to be taken away, or that apartheid is going to come back. That old age cuck excuse of trying to get people to still vote for you.
I think our generation, we have gotten to a space where we're quite gutful of having to explain the what apartheid means to us, because we didn't have, we didn't feel apartheid that much. We grew up in a democracy, we went to school in a democracy, we have friends of all races and colors and everything. But for some reason, that's become the scapegoat of our politicians that are in office at the moment. When the lights aren't working, you know what? It's apartheid's fault. Now, the fucking buildings in Joburg, dude, when I saw that news article, and now you have somebody making public opinions on what's been happening there, and her reasoning behind it is, no, you know what? It's apartheid's fault that they didn't sort out this, so we inherited this. How many years ago? How long fucking is it going to take somebody to turn some shit around? Do you think apartheid has become the scapegoat for everything? Like almost Jan van Riebeeck, it's his fault every time?
So apartheid, I think it's now the ANC's 2024 campaign slogan. It's apartheid's fault. I think eventually, like at least Jan van Riebeeck is getting a break. We can at least acknowledge that old Jan is getting a break, because colonialism will be the next excuse. It's apartheid now because it's immediate. And well, when I say immediate, it's like 3 decades. And eventually it'll be, oh no, it's always been this. But here's the thing. That building that minister was talking about, right? That building was built during the apartheid years. So you blaming a building that has been there that you didn't firstly build, and you've had like trillions of rands over the last 29 years to actually improve that building or to demolish it and build something better. Why didn't you? Why didn't you do that? But now, because the building caught fire and because of your inept policies, people hijack that building. Now you suddenly want to blame apartheid. I mean, people see through that bullshit. People must surely see through that bullshit. If they don't, then we doomed. We absolutely doomed if they can't see through that bullshit.
I'm really worried about the election coming up next year. And in my line of work, being in radio, I feel like the public out there, the broader public, are really misinformed. And the news that they find credible, they get from certain social media sources, one, that are not checked, two, WhatsApp messages from your uncle or your auntie or whatever, who already have an agenda that's been coming for the past 40, 50, 60 years, depending on how old they are. And this is what you are going to base your opinion on next year when you are eligible to vote for the first time if you're a youngster, or you're going back to the voting booth, and you have to make a decision on are we going to make South Africa a better place, or do we keep sticking to empty promises that have been given by a party that's not delivered in how many fucking years?
So look, the election is going to be either amazing or it's going to be the worst election that we've had. Let me explain. We're either going to have a situation where, because look, the ANC is not going to get close to 50%. The ANC is going to get an absolute bitch slap this election. I can tell you that. The ANC, I realistically think, will be lucky if they get more than 41 to 42% of the vote. Because of load shedding, because of COVID, because of the way that they dealt with COVID, they didn't cause COVID, but I mean, the way that they dealt with it, I really do believe that the ANC will get 41, 42% of the vote. However, here's the thing. If the EFF get enough support to help the ANC get over 50%, then we're going to see a drastic slide. Because the ANC has been relatively good at slowly fucking South Africa up, right? If you have the EFF and the ANC combined, then you're going to see a very quick slide, because the EFF will demand that the ANC acknowledge that land expropriation needs to happen. The ANC will gladly give the deputy presidency to Julius Malema and a bunch of ministerial positions to the EFF in Floyd Shivambu and maybe in Dlozi. So the good thing is, if the ANC and the EFF don't get enough together, because I also think the EFF is going to get a reality check this election. I also think that they're not going to do as well as what they think they're going to do. On the other end of the coin is we're going to see a coalition that perhaps will see the DA, the Freedom Front Plus, COPE, Action SA, all of those parties perhaps together get something more than 50%. So it's an election literally where we're either going to head to the way of Zimbabwe very quickly, or we're going to have a resurgence where South Africa really becomes the true democracy that we all wanted in 1994. So it's going to be a difficult one. It's not going to be a grey election. It's going to be either a doom and gloom or a very successful election. That's the thing.
I think at the end of the day, we can only hope for the best. And I know the DA and the other parties have already now structured the coalition agreement going forward for next year. So there's a clear plan. You know, if shit does hit the fan, ANC doesn't get what they need, the 50%, then the other parties are ready to take, you know, management of the country and try and pull it back to what it needs to be. But don't you think that's the problem with South African politics? Every time we slightly don't share each other's opinions, somebody breaks away from the biggest party we have, who should be, you know, aiming to fucking take the ruling party down, and then they just go make a new party. So we're sitting with 100 parties. Everybody's got their own party. The party's party is a party, and you know, if we could get all of these people wrangled together and actually have something similar to what they have in the States, where you're either Republican or Democrat, and that's the way you go. I feel that would be a better chance for South Africa to wipe the slate clean every election year and say, well, we've given you this much time. You guys haven't done what you said you were going to do. So now somebody else is going to get the opportunity.
Yeah, look, I mean, my personal opinion is that I believe that if a political party does not meet a specific threshold, then they should not, be even allocated a seat. I mean, if you look at the state that Tshwane is in, if you look at Johannesburg, Johannesburg has got a mayor that received less than 1% of the vote. In Nelson Mandela Bay, we've got a mayor that is a puppet for the ANC, because this is what the ANC is good at. The ANC is very good at like putting money behind these parties that are pretty much against the DA and pretty much against people that think like the DA, like other political parties, because they know that they won't get those people on the ANC ticket. So they'd rather fund other political parties that they know that they can rely on in coalitions. Because that is what, like for instance, here in Nelson Mandela Bay, we've got the Northern Alliance, right? So the Northern Alliance went on, when with their election campaign, they went, we must get rid of the ANC. It's time for the northern areas to rise. And the very first thing they do is they form a coalition with the ANC. And now, after they were in a coalition with us, now they're back in a coalition with the ANC. And the mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay is somebody that got like just over 1% of the vote. How is that the will of the people? How is that democracy? So my opinion is that we need to really calm down with the amount of political parties, or allow people to pay the IEC the amount that they need to pay in order to become a political party. But if you don't meet a minimum threshold, then unfortunately you don't have a say. Because we know that coalition politics in its current form does not work. It's taking South Africa backwards, and it's not the will of the people. It's not the will of the people when 1%. A 1% party has a person in charge of a metro or a province. It's just absurd.
I think that's one of the biggest things I've discussed with the mayor on our side as well, is now you're sitting with a coalition government. It's already so difficult to get everyone to buy into the same ideas and get stuff executed, to have to serve the people the way everyone wants to serve the people. But now all of your funding is coming from a government level. So they literally just killing you from the top, and it's difficult for municipalities to get loans, for them to go out and source other kinds of income to get basic service delivery right. So,
and it also reflects badly, sorry to interrupt, but it reflects badly on, let's say, in Tshwane, it might reflect badly on Action SA and the DA. Because who is the person that's the mayor? So people blame the mayor and people blame the political party that they perceive is in charge. But in a coalition, the mayor might be the figurehead, but they're not the ones in charge, because you have to sort of stroke people's egos. If you say something that a political party that might be on the fence whether or not they're ANC or DA, and who they want to join, if you don't say something that they like, then they'll just jump the fence. Look at the Patriotic Alliance. The Patriotic Alliance signed an agreement with the coalition, the DA coalition, and then suddenly they just went back on it because they suddenly wanted to change the agreement. And it's shit like that causes instability, and it's not a good reflection on the coalition, because people blame the coalition, and as you know, people love to blame the DA. The DA is always, at fault. Even if the DA stands on principle and say, listen, we signed an agreement, and now, because the PA wanted to renege on that agreement, we refuse it. And they're like, but why didn't you just agree to it? Because what is the point then of a coalition if it can just change every 5 minutes and you can have something different that you want to implement? So, unfortunately, people that don't think further than their noses, they are the ones that'll just look and go, oh no, the DA is arrogant, because that's the latest term. Is the DA is arrogant? No, the DA stands on principle, and unfortunately, other people take opportunities and they take chances when they want to blame the DA for everything.
Yeah, blame is a very easy thing, to throw around, especially when you're misinformed. And I think a lot of people don't understand the structures of our government and our local municipalities. So when a service delivery is not happening, your dustbin hasn't been taken out for a week or whatever, the guys at the head, who's the party? Okay, fine, we're blaming them. So next municipal election, we're not going to vote for them. Nobody understands that there's a budget to the city, and in that budget, everything needs to happen, from service delivery to water to paying electricity prepaid, that the city needs to pay in advance before it gets distributed to the people. Plus, there's infrastructure upgrades, there is the workforce that needs to be paid, and all of these things. So I really think South Africa needs to get to a place where we start asking more questions, become more curious, ask around, speak to people who understand the structures. So you know that when shit does hit the fan, you're not just going to make an opinion up that's willy-nilly or that makes sense at that moment, but you actually can go to someone and say, okay, cool, I see the challenge that you have in a municipality or in this ward or whatever. So how can I either, one, help, or what do I need to understand so I can form a better opinion of what's happening with you?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. As I do think that a lot of people understand local politics. I think that they know what the limitations are, but then there's also some people that really just do not have the slightest of idea. For instance, as a ward councillor, I get a lot of phone calls from people that say, listen, can you please just not load shed us this weekend? And then I'm like, load shedding is implemented by national government, by ESCOM.
That's not Renaldo sitting there with the switches going on and off.
And here's another thing. Like, let me just get a comfortable seat here. Let me explain quickly the role of a councillor for those that might not understand, because people are very quick to blame councillors. A councillor is your voice on a municipal level. It's the elected person that, let's imagine a class captain. Imagine you're in a class and you want to elect somebody to speak to the principal on your behalf about concerns that you have. That is pretty much what a ward councillor is, right? It doesn't give a ward councillor magical powers where they can go and fix the plumbing or fix the electricity or do this or that. They can request it on your behalf, but they still need to speak to the municipality, because there's the political side and there's the administrative side. The political side is the ones that want a vision for the metro and want to implement things over a long period of time. The administrators, which is the city managers and the officials, executive directors, those are the ones that actually have to physically do it. Even as a ward councillor, I'm not allowed to even touch a broom of an official. If I do that, then I'm interfering with the process. I can say that I would like my ward to get the street lights fixed and the street lines repainted, but I can't physically go and do it. I can request them to do it, but if they don't do it, it's not a bad reflection on me. It's a bad reflection on the actual administration for not doing it. So I hope that kind of explains it in a way. People are very quick to say, oh, my councillor is useless. The question you have to ask yourself is the councillor useless, or is the administration useless? That's the thing. That's a very valid
argument, because I think in our ward as well, when shit is not going the way the people want and they're feeling uncomfortable and they're not enjoying their time, then the ward council is like, yeah, but you're not keeping us updated. Then when that guy's out, when a substation blows up at 3 o'clock in the morning in the fucking winter, giving us updates about which reconnection guys from the municipality are on their way, and this is what's happening, the next update at this time and that time, then he's the hero for being, on the ground and doing the shit. But once again, there's only so much that you can do when, like you said, the admin's not in place. You're just reporting what you need to, being the voice of the people of your area, taking it to the higher ups, and they need to fucking make shit work.
No, I agree. I would say the bare minimum that you can. Let me give you this. A good ward councillor will always keep the residents informed, whether it is something they've got control over or not. So if, let's say, there's a power outage, if your ward councillor doesn't even communicate to you what's going on in at least a 3-4 hour period, then I would say that you need to relook at the ward councillor and maybe report them. However, if the ward councillor every hour or two updates you to say, hey, this is happening, this is what we're doing, I followed up, then I would say the ward councillor is doing their jobs. The same with potholes and the same with all the other issues. Like, I mean, I would love to have fixed all the potholes in my ward. I would have loved to have fixed all the water leaks in my ward, but I'm not responsible for it. I'm the one that reports it on behalf of the residents, but I'm not the one that actually has to physically do it. That needs to be the administration. But as long as I follow up and you can see that I'm bitching and moaning about it, and I'm posting it on social media, and I'm updating you as to what I'm doing, then that is what, in my opinion, a good ward councillor is. Obviously, if you're in the city of Cape Town or in the Western Cape, then it's a lot easier, because then you can say, but you are the government. You are the ones that pass the budget, and you are the ones that run the administration. Why isn't it being done? It's very hard when you are a councillor in the opposition, but you are the elected ward councillor. It's very, very difficult then, because yes, I am the elected ward councillor, meaning the ward is DA, but if the if the municipality is ANC or whatever, then it's quite tough to get things done.
The other thing that people also need to remember is a ward councillor is also a member of that community. So when the load shedding happens, it happens to them as well. When he's not able to give updates because his phone's battery is dead because there is no power, he's having the same situation as all the other people, but he has to keep everyone happy. So hats off to you guys, dude. I wouldn't fucking do that, because I would tell somebody to fuck right off.
Yeah, sometimes I'm very close to doing that. But I have to say the best one always, and I'm very lucky with my ward, because I've got a very awesome ward. People they understand, they're sympathetic, and the problem, however, is sometimes you get somebody that'll say something along the lines of, but my rates and taxes pays your salary. And my response to that is, hey, well, I also pay rates and taxes.
The Karens of the world.
Yeah. So my response is, but I also pay rates and taxes. You know, I'm also a resident of this ward. So, you know, sometimes I want to say, okay, well, you know, I'll take that 15 Rand that you contributed, and I'll refund it to you if you're not happy with what I'm doing. But then that's a cheeky side of me.
Yeah. So with that cheeky side now being exposed as well, and I think you portrayed that on your social media as well, you mentioned earlier that obviously all of the things that you say or like to tackle, it's probably not going to do your political career any good. But I think a lot of people feel that, you know, this guy's real. There's a sense of how can I put it? There's a human element to this person, because he's also frustrated the way we are. So with social media being what it is, have you ever gotten into serious shit with your actual party for making certain statements or saying something like, hey guys, you know, hashtag fuck the ANC, when that's not necessarily policy of the party that you are committed to?
Well, I have to say, I'm quite lucky being part of a liberal organization, because, you know, a liberal organization believes that, you know, you can say what you think is the truth, as long as it obviously isn't hate speech or something that incites violence. You know, as long as it's not something that goes against the Constitution, then I think it's pretty much fair. So, look, you know, do I appeal to every single voter out there? I don't think so. Do I think that any political party appeals to every voter out there? No, I don't think so. So I speak about things that I'm passionate about, and it just so happens to be that a lot of people that support and vote for me and vote for the organization that I represent feel the same way. I do not realistically see how, with the load shedding and with the amount of corruption and all of this, people cannot get behind a hashtag like fuck the ANC, because it's literally your money being utilized against you and given to cadres, given to people that obviously do not, don't have your best interest at heart. And it's not even about race; it's just about South Africa. It's about the current state of South Africa. So I think a lot of people share the frustration. I have never ever been to a disciplinary hearing within my organization, and I'm very happy about that, because the moment I think that when something like that happens, then I think it becomes a little bit problematic, especially if you're part of a liberal organization. If I was part of a very conservative organization or a socialist or a communist organization, then yes, I would probably be in trouble. But that is why I'm exactly not part of that, because I don't believe in that ideology. I believe in a liberal organization where a swear word isn't, not going to offend people. Because liberalism stands for more than what some people see it as.
The really cool thing that I enjoy about your videos is never once has it been about, like you said, race or sex or whatever. It's always just been you speaking your mind, free speech, and we've been fighting in that for that in South Africa now for a while, because there is rumors about censorship, internet censorship. These things come and go, and it's never really been introduced. But never have you gone and, like you said, targeted somebody with dedicated hate speech. And sometimes you get the backlash from the people who obviously don't understand racism, that racism isn't just one specific race hating another. It's any race not accepting any other race. And that's the way it should be. I think the term racist has gone from being what it's supposed to be to a black and white argument always. But
look, I mean,
you've never
used thing.
You've never gotten into that. Even when people are clearly out to give you a hard time, and you can clearly see their agendas are motivated by racism, you've always just been the guy who hits them with a fact and be like, do with it what you must, and if you like it because it's the truth, then so be it. If you don't like it because it's the truth, then you need to fucking educate yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a society at the moment. I think we're at peak cancel culture now. I think that eventually it'll die down. I mean, it's not good, because we're at that point now where people are being canceled for trying to cancel other people. So it's like peak cancel culture, right? Here's the thing. I have a 13-year history on social media where you can go and find any video of me, right? And yet people that call me a racist and people that say that I'm this or that, surely if I was a racist, or surely if I was a sexist, or surely if I was homophobic, you would easily find something to cancel me on. But it's easier just to say you are a racist. It's easier to say you're a sexist or you're homophobic. And that is why, when people say that shit, they're actually doing themselves more harm, because I know that I'm not a racist. I know that I'm not a sexist or homophobic. I'm just a practical South African that want what is best for South Africa. And unfortunately, it's something that's not popular for some people in the ANC, in the EFF, and even maybe in the Freedom Front Plus, or even in Front National. And, I've been attacked by far left-wing nutters. I've been attacked by far right-wing nutters. And that makes me feel comfortable, because that makes me feel that I'm hitting the nail on the head for most South Africans. Yeah. Because most South Africans are people that just want to live their life. They just want a government that's functioning. They want streetlights at work. They want electricity. The majority of South Africans aren't the people you see on Twitter or on YouTube. They call the silent majority for a reason, because they just take it and they just want to live their lives. That's it.
So how long, in your opinion, do you think these average South Africans are going to be able to keep taking the hits before they just give up?
Finish. I think we're close. I think we're very close to people saying, okay, this is enough. But the problem with that being said, the problem with that also is that I thought that not having electricity for half the day would be the straw that broke the camel's back. But it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because South Africans are very resilient. South Africans are ones that'll take something and immediately turn it into something funny. And that is great to some extent, but it's also terrible on the other end, because I think that if what is happening in South Africa had to happen in another country in Africa, that government would have been overthrown a long time ago. So it's good for us as a coping mechanism to say, oh, it's just the ANC, or oh, it's just the EFF. But at what point do you go, this guy is singing songs about killing me because of the color of my skin? Or at what point are you going, my business is failing because the government that I'm paying tax money to is not keeping the electricity on like they're supposed to do? At what point do we go, enough is enough? And I think that we're very close to that point, because you can see people are getting a lot angrier on social media, more so than, the far right-wing nutters and far left-wing nutters. Your average South African is getting angry. And unfortunately, protests, or having a march is only that effective. Eventually, it needs to reach that point where people are going to go, enough is enough. And I think the saving grace for the ANC, the reason that we haven't had those mass protests is because the election is next year. If this was still like 2 to 3 years away from the election, I think that we would have had that uprising. But because people still believe that they can go to the elections and teach the ANC and the EFF a lesson, I think that's what's going to happen. That's why people are just dealing with it now, because it's like less than a year before we vote.
Yeah, I think with everything, like you said, South Africans will always find the funny side to everything, especially looking at now the Springbok jerseys, with the Checkers 60-60 reference. Man, I was in stitches. But eventually South Africa is going to get to a point where it's, enough is enough. And we already see that people are jumping ship. People are going overseas. They're immigrating at an alarming rate. We are losing so much knowledge because of small things that the government can change. And I mean, it's not like we're asking a lot. I understand there's a massive ass crisis with the electricity, but can you not start with just like by fixing the potholes and winning people back? That'll already, South Africans will be over the moon if we could just have normal roads, that are not fucking up our cars and anything like that. It's the small wins that we're looking for, not one massive win.
Well, that's what happens when you've got such an incompetent party in power that they can't even focus on just maybe improving one thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard because, many years, more than 10 years ago, you could look and you could go, okay, the ANC is now completely incompetent. But now, unfortunately and fortunately, because of the EFF, you look at them and you can go, okay, things can be a lot worse if they are in power. So on the one hand, people are like, okay, now I'd rather vote for, the ANC, because I don't want that radical vibes. Or you've got a situation where people are, so it's a positive and a negative. It's like, I'll rather vote for the ANC because I don't want that. Or they'll vote for that because the ANC is not doing enough. So that's why it's a positive and a negative. And I think that the EFF being born, and make no mistake, in my opinion, the EFF is there as the militant wing of the ANC. I'm fully aware. Like, Julius Malema, the one day he says Zuma must fall, the next day he says, Zuma must stay out of jail, let the old man rest. Make up your mind. Which one is it now? That's why they're called the flip-floppers. So the ANC and the EFF, definitely, if the ANC does not get enough support in 2024, they will call on their militant wing, which is the EFF, because the ANC Youth League doesn't exist anymore. You can say what you want. The guy made a stupid statement yesterday about they want, the unemployed youth to get a stipend of 2,500 Rand a month. I don't know where that money is going to come from, but obviously you don't have to think further than your nose. So, but my point that I'm making is the ANC Youth League does not exist anymore. The EFF is the ANC's militant wing. It's pretty much what's going on there.
2 questions and I'm going to let you go. With that being said, the ANC or the EFF being the ANC's militant wing, a lot of South Africans for a very long time have said, listen guys, we're probably going to see, some kind of shit hit the fan in South Africa between its people. Do you think the reality of that happening is still there? Or do you think South Africans have now gotten to a stage where we are past that? Our beef's not with each other anymore, but it's with like the greater evil.
I think that the vast majority of South Africans just want to live their lives, and that includes a black middle class that is bigger than the entire white and colored population. I think that nobody wants to see their wealth go to zero. So we are, what was that thing called? It was like Uhuru. Remember that?
Yeah, back in the day.
The
Long
night of the
Mesa.
long knives.
Yes.
And then then Nelson Mandela passed away and there was nothing. So it is this like phantom fear that people create. There's not, look, will there be some uprisings in certain parts of EFF and ANC strongholds? Possibly. Just like what the KZN riots did, when Jacob Zuma was arrested. That the vast majority of South Africa, were they affected? No, they were not. So let's say the ANC loses the 2024 election, right? There's not going to be this massive uprising because the majority of people already spoken. The majority of people don't even vote. Let that sink in. The majority of people in South Africa don't vote because they don't care. They don't really believe in this in the system. So if the ANC loses, or if the EFF doesn't get the amount of vote that they think they should have received, you might have an uprising here and there, but it's not going to impact on the majority of South Africans. The majority of South Africans, irrespective of race, religion, or creed or culture, just want to live their lives. They want to have electricity. They want to watch DSTV, even though it's it's expensive. Let's watch it with Netflix. They want to Netflix and chill. That's what the majority of South Africans want in this country. So no, there's not going to be a race war. There's not going to be a political war. People just want to live their lives. And I think that the ANC has demonstrated that they can't govern. And I think the majority of people know that. And the majority of people won't mind if the ANC don't win the 2024 election, because that's the will of the people.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, and you've mentioned this throughout our conversation, but let's end it off with everybody that's going to see this video on TikTok and YouTube, wherever. What is your one wish for every South African watching this right now?
I wish that come 2024, that everybody that wants to see South Africa be the best that it can be, go and vote. Your vote does make a difference. Let me give you an example quickly. Let's say you watching this think that your vote does not matter. I can guarantee you that there's 1 million or 2 million people that think exactly like you. Now, if all of you voted, you can shift the election result by 15 to 20%. If 2 million more people voted, that's a 15 to 20% shift for a political party or against a political party. So what's going to happen next year is the IEC is going to frustrate the election. They're not going to steal the election because there are too many eyes within every single voting station to make sure that there aren't ballots added or ballots removed. So get the whole IEC is going to steal the election out of your head, because the opposition parties each have 2 people in every voting station in the entire South Africa that ensures that ballot box is sealed, that makes sure that the codes on the serial numbers on those ballot boxes are the same. So trust the process and trust your political party, whomever you vote for, to ensure that it is free and fair. But know that you are going to stand in a queue for 1 hour or 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours. Accept that, and don't WhatsApp people and say, oh, don't come and vote, the queue is so long. Stand in that queue for the 3 or 4 hours, because the next 4 to 5 to 10 to 15 years and your potential wealth, your potential future in this country is at stake. So stand in that line and go and vote. And if you aren't registered to vote, register and vote. The first opportunity is now on the 18th and 19th of November. But let me also give you a quick tip. You can register for a special vote. So if you're not keen to go and stand on election day in that long queue, There are 2 days before election day where you can go and vote if you're registered for a special vote. And guess what you need to do? You just need to go onto the IEC's website and register for a special vote. That's it. That's what you need to do. That's how simple it is for you to change the future trajectory of this country. That is what I want to say in closing.
I love that. And I also think you're not allowed to voice your opinion anywhere in public or on social media if you did not vote.
Exactly. And people that say that not voting is a vote for the ANC, technically it's wrong, but technically it's correct. Let me tell you why. Because if you don't vote, it means that you are happy with the current way things are being run, which means that you are happy with the ANC. So if you don't vote, it doesn't mean that you magically giving a vote to the ANC, but what it does mean that you're taking a vote away from another political party that could have run this country better. So there we go.
There we go. Closing statements, Renaldo Gouws. Dude, thank you so much for your time. I know it's evening, you want to be with the family, but I really enjoyed this conversation a lot.
No,
en doen jouself 'n guns vir die hele snippet van hierdie onderhoud of enige van die ander podcast wat ons gedoen het sover. Check Doepie Uncensored op YouTube. Onthou my subscribe knoppie te druk. Sien jou volgende keer.